Let's go!
You're watching Inside the Relationship with Denise and Ollie.
So sit back, relax, and let's talk about all things relationships.
And
How long have I been muted?
I don't know, but that's okay. We're going to just take it from here.
All right.
Welcome. It's Thursday. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Relationship. We don't know if we were muted the whole time. We didn't say a whole lot. Make sure you join us on Saturday nights. Put the thing up again, babe. Because we were talking about Have a Conversation After Dark, where we talk about any and everything. That's why it's after dark. And pretty much that's all we said. We're glad you're here. We won't be here on this Saturday night. We will do a rebroadcast. If you missed any of those episodes, go back and watch them. They're really, really good.
Yes.
In a nutshell.
There you have it. In a nutshell, that's what we said while we were muted. We don't know how long we were muted. So welcome. If you didn't hear this is the last thing we'll say before we jump into the media mixdown. If you're watching now or watching the replay, go ahead and hit the share button.
Hit the share button.
Share it with your network because we want to get as many people in here to join us for this experience. All right. So listen, without further ado, let's jump into it. We got a few things we're going to talk about today. So let's start with the media mixdown.
All right.
Okay. So for the media mixdown, I'm going to play this video. If you saw the graphic for the show says marriage is not about happiness. And that comes from this video that I am about to play right now. So let's check this out.
Would you sacrifice your family for your happiness, or would you sacrifice your happiness for your family?
If I'm not happy, no.
What about you?
I would definitely go for my happiness, because what is life about if we're not trying to be happy?
And what about you?
I've actually been there and done that, and I did choose my happiness, and I'm happy I did.
With all of your answers, this is the reason why women initiate 70 to 80% of the divorces, because you prioritize your happiness over your family. Marriage, to be honest, isn't about happiness. Marriage is about purpose and duty. Happiness is fleeting. It's up and down, meaning that you're happy at one moment and then you're not happy another moment. Men, we could be unhappy. We act despite how we feel. There's guys that suffer in sexless relationships, sexless marriages, and still stay with that woman.
You have one life to live. Why would you sit there and be miserable for the rest of your life?
Men, we don't think the world revolves around us. Like, men really love a girl. You just love that man based off how you feel. I think the only thing you do love is your feelings. Men, we don't prioritize the way we feel. We prioritize what's real, and that's family, that's the woman, that's the children. So we'll sacrifice our happiness for a relationship without a problem.
Okay. What you think about that?
Well, I understand what he was trying to say, and I somewhat agree with him.
Okay.
I understand that he was saying, basically, all of those females in that video, they sounded like they were saying, the man has to make me happy. I want my happiness, and he's got to give it to me. Otherwise, why am I here? I'm out. And that sounds kind of selfish. And while I do believe that happiness is not always in marriage, like, we are not consistently happy. However, I feel like if I am striving to meet your needs and you're striving to meet mine, and that's just happening, that happiness will organically grow out of that for the both of us.
Okay. So that's a residual of meeting needs.
Yeah.
Or organic result.
A result. Yeah, I wouldn't say residual, because that sounds like not a lot. But yes, I think it's a result of the both of us purposefully meeting each other's needs.
Okay.
However, I do believe, though, and you had mentioned this earlier, and when he said it again, it does make sense to me. I do believe, though, that happiness should be in a relationship.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I would ask those of you who are watching now or watching the replay, if you didn't get a chance to see the video that we just played, essentially what he was asking on the podcast was, would you trade your happiness for marriage, or would you trade your marriage for happiness?
Yeah.
And he asked some ladies on the panel, and they basically, all three of them were like, I want to be happy. So, and then he proceeded to say that he proceeded to say a bunch of stuff, but in essence, what he was saying is that marriage is not about happiness, and that men will prioritize their marriage over happiness, and they will remain unhappy because their priorities are wife, family, kids, that kind of thing. So they will stay in a place where they are unhappy because their priorities are not happiness. So
I don't know if it's just men that do that. I don't think that it's a man thing. Do you?
So
I think most men do.
I think most men prioritize their responsibility. Let me put it this way: men who are striving to be responsible, because everybody's not striving to be responsible. Men who are striving to be responsible will prioritize their responsibilities.
Yeah.
Now, what I don't agree with, and you hear this all the time, especially in the faith-based community, that you didn't get married to be happy. And just like he was saying in the video, marriage is not about happiness. I understand what people are trying to say.
Yeah.
And even in the faith community, they'll say marriage is not to make you happy, it's to make you holy. I get that. That sounds so phenomenal from a preacher-esque type of speech, but I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that. I understand it. I don't think that is all marriage is about.
Yeah.
Because I believe that we can be happy in marriage.
Yeah.
And to say that marriage isn't about making you happy, it's to make you holy. While I agree with that, I don't think that is all marriage is for.
It's not. And this is a whole nother topic, so I'm not going to get into it. But often, especially in the faith-based community, we say stuff that sounds good, but it don't really make a whole lot of sense. And that's one of them.
I mean, It makes sense.
That's one of them. So marriage does grow you.
Does.
Marriage does show you who you are.
Does.
Marriage does put you in a position. Marriage does put you in a very ultimatum type situation where you got to either grow up or get out.
Yeah.
Right. So I agree with that. However, this dude right here ain't trying to be in no situation where I ain't happy.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. I'm just not doing that. I'm not trading. I'm not going to be in a sexless, happyless marriage. I'm just not going to do it.
Right. I agree. But I think, though, that the way that we go about obtaining that happiness is not the way that the women in this video
I agree
probably
with that.
are trying to obtain that happiness.
I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Because what the women were alluding to is that it was their man's responsibility to make them happy. And that's, I don't agree with that either. I don't agree with that. It's not your responsibility to make me happy.
Right.
It's our responsibility to create an environment where happiness thrives. Those are two different things. That's me and you working together. That's not just me sitting back and be like, okay, she got to do this, she got to do that, and she got to say this, and she got to say that.
Give me, and
then
I'll be happy.
Right.
Give me.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. But I do not subscribe to the fact that marriage is not about happiness.
Yeah.
Because who would get married? Who wants to get married and be unhappy?
Right.
Don't nobody want to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we got to be careful what we say, or when we do say stuff like marriage is not about happiness. And this is the faith-based community specifically. Marriage is not about happiness, it's about holiness. Like, we need to qualify that statement.
Or to complete it, or continue the thought behind it.
Because that statement as a standalone is false. Listen, I'm not a preacher, and I understand why preachers say that, and preachers can fight me on this one, but I'm telling you it's false. Marriage, it's partly true. Maybe I should say that.
I wouldn't
it's
say
partly
it's
true.
False.
It's partly true in the sense that marriage does position you for growth.
Correct.
But don't tell me it ain't about me being happy, because I'm not trying to be with her and not be happy. I'm just not.
It's just the way you go about the happiness. It can't be just, I'm in this so that she can make me happy, or I'm in this so that he can make me happy. It can't be that.
Yeah. And listen, we're not telling you there's a right or wrong here, but we would love to hear what you think about it. So those of you who are watching now, watching the replay, do you believe that marriage is not about happiness? And if so, why? Do you disagree? If so, why? Because that's you hear that quite often. You hear that quite often. Gamal is in the house. Shout out to Gamal.
Hey, what's up, Gamal?
In the house.
I think that this is what Gamal says. No one will willingly sign up for hell. There's got to be some heaven in there somewhere. Got to be.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I was a single person and I heard somebody say marriage is not about happiness, it's about holiness, the very first thing I'm going to say is, well, I don't need to get married, because I can get holy
without being married.
Absolutely. I can grow and live and learn and progress. I ain't going to do all that other stuff. Right. And I think that misrepresents what this union is in place to do. So that's just my thing about it. That's my thing about it.
Gamal says, at the same time, if two people are going to stay together for life, growth will be involved.
Growth will be involved. Without a doubt.
Has to be.
Without a doubt. So that's the media mix down for today. If you missed it, go back and watch the replay of it. We played a video of a gentleman on a podcast who posed the question to some ladies. And the question was, would you trade happiness for marriage, or would you trade marriage for happiness?
Right.
And it sparked a very interesting conversation that led him to say that marriage is not about happiness, which I disagree with.
Yeah.
All right. So let us know what you think. Also, if you run across something that you're like, man, you know what, that would make a good media mix down, then just shoot us an email to the email that's on the screen, or send us a message wherever you're watching this now. Send us a link to the social media post or video, and we'll go ahead and throw that in the media mix down rotation. All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's keep it moving. We're going to go to, which I don't even think, hold on. Talk for a second, because I don't even think I even put the the question
So
in
that was
here.
the media mix down.
Hold on, let
I
me,
don't know, you threw me. What's the
I got to put the question up so we can put it on the screen. Give me one
So
second.
okay. So Gamal, since you're here, when are you coming on the show? Gamal is always in our comments, and we need to get you on the
We
show.
definitely
Right?
need Gamal on the
We
show.
need Gamal either on this show or our Saturday night Have a Conversation After Dark show. One of the two. We would love to have you on.
definitely need Gamal on the show.
But if you have any questions, people, that you want us to take a stab at, send it to us. Admin, what's the thing? admin@denali.org.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot us your question and we'll take a stab at it and see, we'll give our opinion, not necessarily advice. Probably will be one and the same.
We'll be one and the same, and it's going to look a little bit like this, right? So now we're ready for the question. So let's go ahead and get into the question of the week.
All right, here's the question of the week. What should I do if my spouse refuses to apologize, even when it's clear they were in the wrong? So here's my answer.
Okay.
Forgive anyway. There's going to be a lot, I shouldn't say a lot, but there will be times where you know that your spouse was in the wrong, or this goes for anyone, not just your spouse. You know that, and they may even know that they were in the wrong, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't forgive. And I know this is not about forgiveness per se, this question, but you're going to have to forgive and move on in whichever way you feel like you should move on. Okay. But to keep bringing it up and saying, you ain't even apologize, and they're refusing to apologize, you're holding yourself hostage to moving on because you're waiting for something that they're refusing to give you. You're going to have to forgive anyway and move on from there. That's my take on it. So now, I'm not saying that's easy either.
Okay.
Especially if the offense, and here's the other thing, is it really an offense? That's another whole nother topic.
Yeah.
People get offended too easily.
Yeah.
But especially if the offense is really, horrendous or really, really hurtful. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's what we should do. Ask God to help you to forgive and move on. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay. That's interesting. And it is difficult.
It is difficult.
And it is true. Let me tell you what jumps out at me.
Okay.
The word in this question that jumps out at me is refuses.
Right.
If you refuse to apologize to me, right? Yes, I agree with you. I do have to forgive you because I'm not going to hold myself hostage based on your unwillingness to apologize. Now, the other side of that coin, though, is that we have a problem.
Yes. So how are we going to fix it?
And herein lies the question, because if you refuse to apologize, in my mind, and there's no context here, but in my mind, if you refuse to apologize, that means that you take no accountability for what happened. I'm saying what I'm thinking. I'm not saying this is the case, but you have you have no accountability with this. You have no remorse for this. You have no feeling whatsoever, no consideration, I should say, whatsoever about how I feel.
Right.
Because there's a process when the whole apology thing, there's a process to seeking forgiveness and granting forgiveness.
Yeah.
So if you're refusing to apologize, that means I've probably gone through the process of seeking forgiveness. Your refusal shows me that you refuse to go through the process of granting it.
Right. But am I going to stay stuck there, or sometimes you will not get an apology. You just won't. So what do? You have to forgive, however that looks for you. You have to forgive and release that. Otherwise, you are going to be just, it's going to eat at you. You have to ask God to help you to forgive and help you to release it, because what else are you going to do?
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you, but I'm just telling you what my thought process would be. Now, because that is my thought process, here is what I personally, Oliver Marcel, would do. I'm going to, everything that you just said, I'm going to do in front of you. So I'm going to come to you and I'm going to address the fact that you are refusing to apologize.
Right.
And that part of our resolution process includes not only the seeking of forgiveness, but also the granting of forgiveness. And if you're not going to do that, I'm going to do it. But I need you to know that it's clear that there is something here that you should be remorseful for. And there's something here that you should apologize for.
Right. I'm not saying don't ever talk about it.
No. I'm not saying, I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm just letting you know what I'm just answering the question. What would I do? This is what I would do. I'm going to acknowledge that in front of you. Like there's going to be a conversation, even if it's one-sided, where I'm going to be like, hey, listen, I know what happened. Here's how I felt about what happened. Here's what I feel like should happen as a result of what happened. Since you're refusing to play what your role is in this, I'm just letting you know I'm going to forgive you for this. But just know that there's a certain level of trust that is broken here.
Why trust?
Because I can't count on you, or it doesn't feel like I might be able to count on you to consider my feelings. And that creates a bigger problem for us down the road. It becomes now bigger than you just refusing to apologize.
Right.
Now I'm not sure you even consider me enough to apologize.
Yeah.
And so that creates a bigger issue. And that's kind of what I'm saying.
Okay.
So Gamal says, I promise you
I'll make myself available for whatever you need in the new year. Also, if my spouse refuses to apologize, I have some decisions to make. I can save the relationship or keep the argument going. I may have to show some leadership and move us past that intersection. Wow. Whether we get counseling or we find some resource to help, something has to be done, and I'll have to be the one to begin doing it. After all, as the husband, I'm the leader. I may have to do the difficult thing.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's good.
That is very good.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's a great answer to the question.
Right. That is.
That's a great answer to the question. I'm just letting you know how Oliver Marcel would handle it. Like I'm gonna forgive you, but I'm gonna let you know that this, for me, uncovers what could potentially be a bigger issue. And yeah, maybe like Gamal said, I may have to walk us through that.
Right.
But I'm going to need you to know that too, because me just saying I forgive you and allowing this refusal to go away without any level of accountability or conversation, in my mind, is not right either, because that could potentially reinforce the idea that you can continue to do that. And you can't. That's just me. That's the Oliver Marcel in me. Shout out to David Kennedy.
Hi, David. So David says, well, she would never apologize, say I'm sorry, or forgive me. Never in a 5-year manipulationship. They never felt they played a part and was perfect. They never felt they played a part and was perfect, she said. Trust was broken. I had to do the difficult thing, unfortunately. Man, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, sorry to hear that. And that's an example, and hello to you as well, bro.
Hello.
That's an example of what it can mushroom into.
Yeah.
Right? It can mushroom into other things. And so to answer this question, if we're giving a blanket answer, Gamal gave a great answer in his comment there. If your spouse refuses to apologize, you are going to have to, I agree with that, Gamal, make a choice. You're going to have to choose to either dig your heels in and try to dig it out of your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
or
Which that's
that.
I don't feel like if you're digging an apology out of your spouse, to me, that apology is probably not sincere.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have to go that route, you're either going to get something that isn't sincere just so that the thing can be dead,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to put yourself in this perpetual conflict.
Yeah.
Neither one of those is good,
Mm-hmm.
right? So being able to acknowledge the fact that, hey, even though you refuse, and this is tough, like you said, even though you refuse to apologize, this is going to be resolved.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Oliver Marcel version of this is going to acknowledge the fact that this potentially takes us into an area where we're going to have to do a little bit of work.
Yeah. To Gamal's point, maybe, say what it is that you said and make sure that she understands, or make sure the spouse understands, man, this is honestly, this is on you, and this is, I'm going to forgive you. However, like Gamal said, there's going to have to be some work that needs to be done.
And let me say this. This is the last thing we'll say about the question, and then we'll move on. I talked about the seeking forgiveness and granting forgiveness. It's possible with this particular scenario that they don't even know what that process is. And maybe after being exposed to the 6 steps that are involved in seeking and the 6 steps that are involved in granting, which, shameless plug, you would get from us if you were in our group coaching experience. Maybe after being exposed to that and giving an opportunity to kind of walk through that with someone, the refusal may go away. You never know.
That's true. That's
possible.
True. Yep, that's true. That's true. Maybe they don't know the process.
Yeah.
What's up, John?
What's good, fam?
So John says, what up, folk? If your spouse continuously refuses to acknowledge when they're wrong, that's eventually going to get old, and you're reinforcing that behavior. This is true. This is true.
Oh, it's going to get old.
It's going to get old. And if you never maybe do what Gamal said, or maybe do what you said, and if you're just like, man, they just did not forgive, and you just leave it at that.
Oh, you're going to be resentful.
You're going to be resentful. And
you can count
you
on
are, like John says, reinforcing that behavior, because they're like, oh.
Yeah, you can count on it.
I was wrong, but they clearly don't care, so I don't care. Right.
It's got to be addressed, and it may require you to sit with someone who can walk you through what that looks like, because what's the, and we don't have context, right? So what's the refusal? Why are they refusing?
Right.
What are they holding on to that's causing them to refuse? Right? Because typically, if you work through something with somebody, it shouldn't be that difficult for you to be like, all right, I see what you're saying. My bad. Right? So if you're refusing, what are you holding on to that has now become the barrier between you and this apology? Right? So there's some other questions that would need to be fleshed out as well as it relates to this. But listen, those of you who are watching now or watching the replay, give your 2 cents, because you may have a phenomenal answer for this question as well, that we can share. All right. And if you have a question that you would like for us to tackle, just like the media mixdown, you can send an email to admin@denali.org, or you can just send us a direct message wherever you might be watching this. All right. So that was a question of the week. What should I do if my spouse refuses to apologize, even when it's clear
they were in the wrong?
Which is a tough situation to be in. All right. So let's move on to the marriage minute, which ironically kind of coincides with the media mixdown. So let's jump into that.
Marriage minute. What you got?
So for this, I'm actually going to, people tell me often that I'm a little bit more generous than I should be.
Agreed.
And this is probably going to be one of those times, right? I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I'm actually going to give away something that has been a game changer for our clients. We touch on it in the group coaching experience, and we kind of go through it at a very high level. But with the clients who kind of stick with us, who are coming to us week to week for several weeks and that kind of thing, we really dig in and flush this out.
Which we're not going to
Which
do
we're
right
not
now.
going to do. I'm just going to share the umbrella overview of this. And if you need more and want more, you're going to have to work with us. But it's this. A significant game changer for many of the couples that we've worked with is when they have taken the time to identify each other's most important emotional needs.
Mhm.
So again, very high level. I'm not getting into this because this is proprietary to our clients, right? So there are several types of needs, and I won't get into what all those different types are. The type of need that I'm talking about identifying, however, is the type of need that when that need is met, you tend to fall in love with the person who met that need, right? So sometimes you'll hear, you may have heard, maybe girlfriends or something say, man, he just makes me laugh. And they just kind of going in on these different things that they're happening. And you can see they're falling for this person, right? Because those things that they're describing fall under the bucket of an emotional need that's being met. I challenge everybody who is watching this or watching the replay to do some work and get with somebody, even if it's not us, if you need to do this work with somebody. I challenge you to really take some time to identify each other's most important emotional needs. And I'm going to give you 4 questions to ask. Once you identify what that need is.
Give an example of a need.
High level, I'll give an example of a need. Let's say one of your most important emotional needs is to feel wanted, right? Now, if that's one of your most important emotional needs, the next question is, why is that need important to you? The question after that is, how does the meeting of that need benefit the marital team? The third question is, how can your spouse now facilitate meeting that need? And the fourth question is, how can you create an atmosphere that is conducive to your spouse consistently meeting that need? Yeah. And there's some other things that we go into to really kind of dig in and flush that out. But I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. It's a game changer.
Once you do that and you understand everything about that need, and then on the backside of that, because all of our couples have to go through this commitment process where they are now committing to meeting that need. And it takes some time to flush some things out and get some specifics and really dig and really peel the layers back. But once all of that is on the table and they commit, they're like, okay, I understand and I commit to meeting this need. And the other person does the same. Things change.
Yeah.
So that's the Marriage Minute today. You need to be really intentional about meeting your spouse's needs. But in order to be intentional about meeting them, you probably need to know what they are. And you probably need to know why they're important to them.
Right.
And how they benefit your marital team. And what you can do to facilitate meeting them. And how they can create an atmosphere for you to do so.
Yeah.
That's the Marriage Minute.
When we did this years ago, changed.
It was like turning the mattress over on the other side.
Wow.
That's a great visual, though. That's a great Isn't that a great visual? That's a great visual. That's literally what it was like. That's literally what it was like. It was like turning it and be like, wow, I didn't know this was that nice. I didn't know this was I've been sleeping on this side. The other side is super nice. That's exactly what it was like.
That is hilarious.
That's exactly what it was like.
It really just changed our relationship for the better.
It did. What's happening, family?
Hi, Mia.
Listen, just be on alert. We're gonna have you back again in the new year.
Yes.
So we're gonna get you on the schedule. Don't worry, we're gonna get you on the schedule.
Busy. You're so busy.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out though. We're gonna figure it out. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the Marriage Minute. It's. Let me tell you what it did for me. and I've told this to a lot of our clients, what it did for me was it really caused me to focus on you. Because when I got married, I was extremely selfish.
Yeah. Agreed.
Extremely selfish. And going through that process took me outside of myself, and I had to listen. And I had to ask questions. And I had to dig in. And I had to listen some more. And I had to ask more questions. And I had to dig in. And that process kept going for each of the needs that she outlined.
Yeah.
And when I committed to be like, okay, I got it. This is my life's work from here on out. Change the game.
Change the game. Game changer.
Change the game.
Game changer.
Change the game.
John said her to turning the pillow over, but the mattress is a new one. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it was like.
Wow.
That's what it was like. Never for you guys. Okay,
busy.
Cool.
Oh,
love
you.
it. We're gonna get you back in. We're gonna get you back in.
So
for those of you who follow us on Saturday night, we've been hyping up our sex therapist that we were supposed to have today. Won't give any details, but just keep her in prayer. We're rescheduling because of something that she's dealing with. Keep her in prayer.
Yes.
But we will get to Tanique Gentles, I promise.
Yes.
We're looking forward to that. So we're rescheduling that episode. But for those of you who are who believe in the power of prayer, just say a prayer for her. Call her name, Tanique Gentles, and you'll see her soon.
Indeed.
Right? So that's the Marriage Minute. Be intentional about meeting your spouse's needs. And in order to do so, you should probably know what they are. All right. So that's the Marriage Minute. And that takes us to the end of this show. Listen, we're going to come down to the end of this show. The end of this show is the last word. And so before we get out of here, let's go ahead and share what the last word is.
All right. So here's the last word. And we did a video about this some years ago, but here it is. Evaluate your spouse. Evaluate your spouse. Actually, it was around this time of year because this time of year is when companies often you have to do like a year-end review with your superior or the person you report to, or mid-year review sometimes, mid-year and year-end. And so at the place where I work, we do mid-year and year-end reviews where, the typical, your direct report, tells you you're doing great. This is what you need, blah, all that kind of stuff. But what we also do too is everyone has to give your direct report a name of a colleague that you work with, and that colleague has to give an evaluation of you.
Okay.
And I always, I try not to choose a person that I know will say, oh, Denise is great. She, she's always, she's whatever, just all positive. I try to choose someone that I know will challenge me or challenge my abilities or challenge my skills.
Okay.
Because then what they say about me makes me do two things. It either makes me say, well, that's not true about me, and look into myself and be like, what is it about me that makes them think that? And then I work on that.
Okay.
Or it might be, well, yeah, that is true. That is something that I need to work on. And then I work on that. And so I try to pick someone that's going to challenge my abilities, challenge my skills, challenge my work set. And I feel like it's the same in our relationships.
Okay.
We should be able to go to our spouse and say, babe, you know what? Over this past few weeks or over this past year or over this past couple months or whatever, I've noticed this, and this about you. It may even be positive. And at that point, then you can say, oh man, she notices this about me. Good. I'm going to keep doing that. I might point out something that's not so positive that might be a growth area for you. And this is the time for you to not take offense to that, but to be like, man, you know what? If she sees that in me, that's something I got to work on because I don't want her to feel that way. I want to be a better person for her.
Right.
Or it may be like I said, man, she sees that in me. That's not what I was trying to convey. That's not me at all. I need to work on that so that she feels more positive in whatever way, whatever the situation is. So my point is, evaluate your spouse. And then when your spouse evaluates you, you have to be able to receive it without becoming offended. Yeah, evaluate your spouse.
And I think part of the receiving without becoming offended is based on your perspective. Because
based on whose perspective?
Just the person receiving.
Yes.
And the person giving, right?
Mhm.
Because the person giving is not going to be giving in a way that is going to be belittling and downplaying them in any way, right? And the person receiving also hopefully is looking for ways to take this thing to the next level.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so often when you go into these, you're looking at the goals that you made and you're seeing how close did you get to meeting them, or did you exceed them?
Yep.
And then you're going to create some new ones, some new benchmarks. Or if you did not meet them, then you're going to look at why you didn't meet them and what are the adjustments that need to be made.
Correct.
It's the same thing in marriage. And so having a perspective of, hey, I'm trying to be in the greatest relationship, the greatest marriage that I possibly can, being the greatest spouse that I possibly can, then having that perspective will allow you to receive both the positive and the growth areas of the evaluation process. So that's good.
Yeah. And I would say too, to add to that would be, you got to pick the right time to be able to do that.
You do.
It can't be when, you guys are in conflict or even just getting over a conflict, but there's still some type of tension between you. I would say do it maybe pick a date night and do it.
That's a great time to do it.
That's a great time to do it. Pick a date night and go over that type of stuff.
Yeah. That's a great time to do it. You would think that would be obvious, that you would not pick a time when you're angry or pick a time when you know something's going on, but often that's when we start spewing out our evaluation. Right. So make sure that you are it's an atmosphere that is conducive to you having a conversation that will lend itself to some level of growth.
Because when you said when it's sometimes we do it when we're upset or angry with our spouses, you might be saying the same thing when you're angry that you do when you're not angry. And, you say it when you are on a date and everything is going great between you two. Same thing. You're saying the same thing. But the tone and the timing and the temperature around all of that, it's going to be received differently.
Yep. The filter's different.
The filter is different.
I literally told a husband this last night. I said, listen, man, you got it. The filter is just as important as what you're saying.
Yes.
Right. And the example I gave was, hey, you could have the best, most expensive dinner, 5-star, elaborate gourmet dinner. But if I send it to you through the sewage pipe, it ain't gonna matter to you how much it costs, because the filter is gonna just jack up the whole presentation and the smell and how you feel about eating it. You ain't gonna receive that at all.
Yeah.
I could tell you that the meal costs $10,000 and you'd be like, I don't care what it costs. You just fed it through the sewage pipe. Forget about it. It's the same thing with how you're communicating to each other. You could say something that is phenomenal. You could say something that is true. You could say something that is going to, if taken and digested, will catapult you to the next level.
Yeah.
But if the filter's bad, forget about it.
Yeah. Yep.
Forget about it.
So that's the last word. Evaluate your spouse. And if you are the spouse being evaluated, be open and be receptive to what is being observed.
Yeah. Indeed. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen, that's our episode for today. So if you missed the media mix down, make sure you go back and catch that. The question of the week, the marriage minute about meeting and facilitating needs, and the last word about evaluating your spouse.
Yep.
And check this out. Go back and check out some other episodes that you've missed.
Yeah.
Right? We've had some great episodes. Excellent points. John said, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for being a part of this. Next week, next Thursday, our guest is Quest Green. If you don't know who Quest Green is, just look that name up. Quest, Quest. Green is our guest next week. Incredible speaker, coach.
Yeah. All the things.
Yeah, all the things, right? So we're going to have a great conversation with Quest next week. For those of you who hang out with us on Saturday, this Saturday we will not be live. This Saturday we will be showing a rebroadcast of Have a Conversation After Dark, but we will be back live the following Saturday. So listen, blessings on you all. Thank you for being the best part of this. Please, if you have not done it, hit the share button and share this with someone so we could get this in front of other people as well. Have a phenomenal rest of your week. We hope that you heard something here that will be a blessing to you and something that you can potentially incorporate into your marital experience. All right. With that, we're going to get out of here. Any last words you got to say? Well, you already gave your last word.
Last word is all done.
All right, family. Listen, blessings on you. Thank you for being the best part of this. We will see you next week.
Take care. Have a good week.
Later.